What is up, you guys? Welcome to my channel. I have been waiting so long to say that. If you have been following me on Instagram, you know that recently I asked if you guys would like me to start a YouTube channel, and a lot of you said yes. So what would be a better way to get things off over here than some of the most frequently asked questions that I get on my Instagram? I've got coffee over here. Grab a beverage because there are quite a few of them. And if you don't follow me on Instagram, go and follow Young Female in Tech, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you'd like more content like this in the future. Without further ado, let's kick things off so that I can get to as many of these questions as possible. So the most frequently asked question that I get, bar none, is whether I'm a software developer or a software engineer. The answer to that question is no. I'm currently an analyst, and in a couple of weeks I am moving roles to become a project manager. But I do code and I do program in both my job and on my free time. So for my work, I usually use either Python or SQL to analyze data. And during my free time, I love to learn Python. I love to learn new things about programming. So a lot of the times I am doing my own side projects on data science and data analytics. Another question that I get quite a bit is whether I'm a freelancer or not. And no, I am currently very happily employed by a tech company in Dublin, but I would consider freelancing or consulting in the future. But I think for my current career goals and situation in life, being employed by a company is actually a really good thing. And then the mother of questions, what do I actually do for work? I'm currently an analyst. I create data-driven insights and work on projects specifically regarding our internal systems. And I'm currently in the process of switching roles. So as a systems project manager in my new role, I am going to be full-time working on internal systems and particularly projects related to ways we get feature requests in for our internal systems. Then I love coffee. Another set of questions that come up every once in a while are regarding my background, and the first one of them is, what did I study, or did I actually go to university at all? And the answer is yes. I have a bachelor's in science in economics and business administration with a major in international business. I also started a master's in corporate strategy, but I was also already working full time, so I realized very quickly that that wasn't actually aligned with my career goals anymore and never completed that master's degree. Technically I'm still a student, but I don't think I'm going back to actually finish that degree. I also get asked a lot about what I did before my current role and if I've always been working in big tech. So let's start with the latter. Have I always been working in big tech? No. I have worked in different industries from banking to publishing, and this is my first job in a big tech company, but all of my previous roles have also been technical. And what did I do before my current role? I was working in data management and analytics. So my previous role before this was called Data Master, where I owned a set of databases and the business development for them. Before that, I did some consulting in master data management in the banking and finance industry. And before that, in my first job from uni, I was a customer master data management specialist in an automobile retail company. So I've seen quite a few different industries. In total, I've been working for a bit over 4 years. Before I graduated university, I also did some internships and traineeships in different business roles, ranging from sales to marketing and communications. So I've seen also the business side of things. So from talking about what I did before to the question of how did I land my current role as an analyst, I actually was headhunted. So I got a message in May 2018 from a recruiter in the company, and I thought it was a total scam. I was like, why on earth would this company seek to hire me? Like, I live in Finland. I am literally kind of a nobody. How did you find me? But I went through an interview round of a total of 5 interviews, 3 of them here in Ireland, and actually I did that last round on a Friday, and on that next Monday they called me and offered me the job. How I got my new role, however, might be a little bit more interesting, because I actually started working with the team that I'm joining already more than 6 months ago. I started specializing on internal systems, which was something that I was already interested in, and I had my eyes set on a more technical role. So actually, if I go and look at my goals for this year, one of them was to move from my current analyst role to a role that is a bit more technical. And so having specialized in internal systems and software already in my current role allowed me to build relationships and work on projects that eventually became proof that I can do a systems project manager role. That is actually a super good tip on how to find the next career move that you want to make and how to take that next step, is to try and find the kinds of projects that you'd like to work on next already in your current role, because that way when it comes to actually applying for a new role, you have that proof, you have that evidence that you've done that type of work, that you've excelled at it. And obviously even during the application process, I already knew the team before I even applied, which also meant that I wasn't applying for a team that I didn't know how they work, I didn't know how they operate, and I didn't know if I'd be a good fit. But actually I've been sitting with my new team already every Friday for months, and so actually my welcome messages weren't like, oh, welcome to the team. It was more like, yay, we're going to have you from Monday to Friday rather than just Fridays. So a lot of you are also very interested in what it is like working in tech, and especially in a company within the sort of big tech realm. And I love it, but it's not necessarily because it's a big tech company. I've obviously had a lot of similar roles before, and it's honestly mainly because I really enjoy the work that I do and the scale that the big tech companies offer. So for me, it's definitely not perks, it's not the pay, it's not the status that the companies enjoy, but it's actually the scale, it's the variety of work, it's the speed at which things develop, and the fact that we focus a lot on developing new things that I really enjoy. I think a lot of people have a misconception of people going into big tech for the money, but actually if you don't enjoy your work, you're not going to last very long. To me, it's still a job. I enjoy the company a lot. I think a lot of big tech companies have very strong internal cultures that actually play a huge role in retention, but at the same time it's not that different than working any other job. And I guess a fairly practical question that I get is, do I travel for work? And yeah, I do sometimes. The last time I did was at the end of February. I was in Austin in Texas, and that was for an internal conference. I don't travel too much, not even once every quarter, and I think a lot of people have this misconception of traveling for work being really glamorous, but to be fair, you don't really see a whole lot other than your hotel and the office and what's in between. And a lot of the times it's actually quite hard. You might be dealing with things like jet lag while you still need to be able to work. So even though it's fun to see other offices in different countries and to be able to visit, it's still quite tough, and definitely not the glamorous kind that you sometimes see on TV. And I guess the real tea is, how much do I make? And this is often more of a subtle question or an implication of a question that I get, and it's everyone's own personal preference whether they actually disclose their income or not. I'm not super precious about it, so I can tell you that my base salary without vesting stocks or any performance bonuses lands between 60 and 70,000 euros a year, which I think on a quick Google should be somewhere in between 65 and 75,000 US dollars a year. So that's what I make. Obviously your pay will be affected by your seniority, your role, and where you're located, so that is something to consider. Tech companies tend to have a bad reputation in terms of work-life balance, and I get a lot of questions about whether I even have one. And to be fair, in my career overall, I have had times where I didn't have any kind of a work-life balance. But that's not necessarily the case right now, and I don't think it has anything to do with the company that I work for. So right now, any of the managers that I've had have definitely not encouraged overtime, have been very exemplary in actually completing their own work within that given 8-hour time frame, and encouraging taking time off. I think the thing about tech companies not having a very good work-life balance is actually more to do with the type of work that we do. Knowledge work really follows you home, and a lot of the times you're very passionate about your job, and if you don't know how to set boundaries to when you work and when you don't, that does end up in really bad places. I've burnt myself out before this role, and so I know what it's like to actually not be able to function properly because you've worked yourself to exhaustion. And so right now I think my work-life balance is really what I make it. I have a lot of autonomy over my work, no one's micromanaging me, no one's checking my hours. All I do is determine my own hours and make sure that I get my job done, but no one really cares in how much time. I think as an adult in working life, it's your job to set boundaries for your work when you work and know your own limits when it comes to your workload. And what else do we have over here? Questions about working abroad, and I love this topic. So obviously I get the question of whether I work abroad, and yes, I do. I'm originally from Finland and I currently live in Ireland. I used to live in Montreal for about 6 months in 2015, and then I came back to Finland to work for about 2.5 years, and now I am in Ireland. And a lot of questions about what it's like working abroad, and I love it. I think it's great. I think it's a great opportunity. I work in a city that is a hub for technology companies, so career-wise it's a really smart move. I think for me it's never been an issue about language. I did my bachelor's degree in English. I did some studies before that in English. I've always had very international extracurriculars in high school and university, and I lived in Montreal already, so for me living in an English-speaking country is not a problem at all. I think a lot of people have this idea of working abroad as something that's super different than working from any other country, but to be fair, anywhere you live, you kind of have your everyday life, and that's what it is. It's you build your own life, you live, you make friends, you hang out with your friends, you go to work, and you have the same ups and downs of life wherever you really go. So I think working abroad is a great option if you want to experience something new, if you want to immerse yourself in a new culture, but at the same time it's still just your everyday life. Okay, I have been recording for a good while, so I think I'm going to finish off with a question that does come up quite a bit as well, which is what advice I would give for people that want to work in tech, and especially in a big tech company. So I want to say that because I'm not a software developer and I'm not an engineer and I've never held a position like that in my life, I can't really tell you what it takes to be a software developer in the tech industry or the big tech industry. What I do want to say though is please develop other skills than your technical skills as well. Obviously you're gonna have to be smart and you're gonna have to be very good at what you do in terms of the technical skills, but it's not the only thing that is being looked for. A lot of work in this industry is very collaborative. A lot of the times you need to work cross-functionally, maybe you even need to work with clients, and so interpersonal and soft skills are super important. It's really important that you're able to manage a lot of stakeholders. It's really important that you're really good to work with. So if you only focus on your technical skills and you miss a lot of skills like communication and stakeholder management, it's going to be really hard to actually fit into the culture. Another piece of advice that I really want to give as well is don't just strive to work in big tech. Figure out what you really want to do, what role you're interested in, and get some experience in it before you join a big tech company. I actually really wouldn't want this to be my first job out of college because it's quite intense, the scale is huge, and having experience from smaller companies and other industries is actually really useful to be able to manage your work. So those were some of the questions that I get quite a bit on my Instagram. I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. If you'd like to see content like this in the future, hit the subscribe button, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers!